I'm going to go through a few steps in integrating a Teleco powered Pergola system with the CBus 5500 SHAC Automation Controller. So there's a few steps required here. So you'd want a working Pergola with a remote transmitter handy, and also you'd want a working CBus system with a Wiser. So those two systems will run independent of each other, and we bring it all together through RS-232. So Teleco can provide you with an RS-232 interface, it's called, for TVLINK systems, and we pair that with the motor, that's the Teleco motor that's controlling the Pergolas already. So it's like a second remote almost, and then we would connect that into our SHAC, our CBus 5500 SHAC with an RS-232 terminal. It has one on board. So, and on the user side, we want to be able to, say from a CBus touch panel EDLT switch, control this Pergola's lights and motor and motion, the louvers and slats. And the CBus system controls its COM port, in this instance the RS-232 port, we use LUA scripts to interface between our user inputs and the COM port itself. So what's the end game here? Where do we want to be? We want to be able to be in a position where we have a CBus touch panel, say, on the wall. Maybe we create with all our other objects here to control the home automation, to automate the home. We can create a Pergola menu. So we press on this button and we're brought into here where we can control the motion of the louvers and the slats on the Pergola. We say a pre-programmed positions, or open, close and stop, and also the lights on the Pergola as well. We can control them via these buttons also. So diagrammatically, what I've spoke about, say we have a working system already. So here's the remote transmitter that controls the louvers, and it's actually talking to this Teleco motor, which is in an enclosure, say, outside near the Pergola. So we have this all working, and that's fine. Independently of that, we have our CBus system working, which is controlling all the stuff in the home, the lights, the air conditioning, etc., and sound system, what have you. We want to be able to bring the Pergola system into here as well, and we do that via RS-232. So here's the Teleco part that we need to interface the RS-232, which is on the SHAC, into the Teleco system, and that allows us to talk to the Pergola and control it. So let's bust right into this. First thing we need to do, we need to pair the TVLINK RS-232 adapter to the motor. We do this by connecting a PC to the black cable hanging out of the adapter, the RS-232 side. We connect a PC to it using a terminal like Docklight to send the command to the RF transmitter into the motor. Now, this is the part we're talking about here. We want to pair this device. So instead of connecting it directly to our SHAC first, we'll actually hang an RS-232 male interface, plug it into this guy from our laptop. Okay? So then we can send the commands using the remote also to pair this device. And we only have to send one command really to do the pairing. Now, in order to pair the RF transmitter, we follow the instructions provided by Teleco, which are listed here. So using the P3 button on the back of the remote, we hold it down for 5 seconds until we hear the beeps, and then we transmit the signal from our PC. We send the signal to the RF transmitter in order for it to pair that device. So what command do we need to send to the TV link in order to pair the RF transmitter? Well, we need to follow the Teleco doco and use a little hex. Okay, so when we set up our notebook to connect using DocLite, for example, we need to make sure we use these parameters for the bit rate, the baud rate, and 19.2K, 8 data bits, no parity, and 1 stop bit. Now the actual commands we need to send, say for example here, they're in this format and they're in hexadecimal form. Now basically this is 1 byte. If there's 2 hex digits here, that's 1 byte. 5 and a 4, 54 in hex, that's 1 byte. And 002A, that's 2 bytes. And that's another 2 bytes, and that's the checksum. So what does this represent? So T is, I'd say, stands for transmit. So over here in our ASCII table to hex and decimal, 54 in hex equals T, the character T in ASCII. So we're going to transmit. So we're telling our DocLite, our laptop, send this command over the RS-232. So it's going to come into this from our laptop into the interface of the TV link adapter and transmit it to the motor. So we're going to transmit the number, the in hex is 002A, which is 2A, which equals 42 in decimal. That represents this ID. So if the T is the command string, the ID here, this 2 bytes, is represented by the number 0x2A, which is 42. And this channel, I'd say this represents a button on the remote. So I'd say button 7 would mean channel 7 here, it's called. So that's what we're sending, this button press basically. And here's the checksum based on the addition of all these fields. So for example, to calculate this checksum here, we just add all these digits. So we get our calculator, go into hex, go into programmer mode, okay, and highlight hex here, and do 55 plus 2A plus 7 equals 85. And that's the checksum. If it actually had more than 1 byte of hex here, we'd just drop everything else and just leave the last byte, the last 2 digits, like right justified. So if the answer was 185 or A85, we would just leave it as 85. We put here as a checksum because we have to put the checksum when we transmit this string to the TV link device. So when the motor receives this data, it will calculate its own checksum to make sure that the data was not corrupted in transit. So we receive back is 54, so T transmit, so it'll send back to us 06. So acknowledge it received it, and it'll also do a checksum on that. So 54 plus 6 is 58.